Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Friday Night Live. I am not Kesh.
Neither am I.
Neither is Sean. But we are here tonight and we are doing a duet.
We are indeed.
We're not doing a menage a trois. But we're without Kesh tonight. I think he's away on some personal duties.
And I think we've officially now hit the trifecta of combinations that we could have hit. We've had podcasts with Kesh and myself. We've had podcasts with Kesh and Marc. We've had podcasts with Sean and Marc now. We've officially hit a new milestone on the FNL set. So thank you, producer Ryan, for making it possible and believing in our dreams.
It shows real commitment.
Absolutely.
So, guys, I firstly want to make mention that we are here at Bella Vista Hotel. So shout out to Bella Vista. It's been a while. But also shout out to Fireball. These guys are cool. So we're going to be talking tonight about management of your investments. So that is obviously in relation to, stocks and shares, bonds, cryptocurrency, real estate, even business as well. I think any form of income generating asset falls into those type of categories plus more. And I guess it's a really good topic. Sean, you brought it up today that we were going to talk about this, and I'm super excited, especially to hear from your end, because I do take a lot away from you as well. But I guess to kick things off, and I don't really have any form of script here tonight, guys, so we're going on the fly. But, managing your investments, how, I guess if I turn to you, Sean, because there's no one else to turn to tonight.
We do have producer Ryan out the back who can give us a few gems.
Ready? That one's for Kesh. So basically, let's start, with on your end, telling us a little bit about, how maybe managing investments on your end or your investments over the last, let's say 5 years has really enhanced your, your investment journey.
Sure. So obviously it's a pretty broad question, right? Managing your investments. And this is such a great topic. The way I'd like to think about it is what's actually changed over the period of the last, 5-7 years is that there has slowly become a bit of a philosophy, and there has slowly become a bit of a natural second nature habit that has formed that has become my personal investment philosophy. So when I first started out in the industry, it was not common to check your bank account every single day. Until I had a mentor pointing out to me very clearly going, how much do you have in your account today? Like to the dollar. And I thought, that's a strange question. I have no idea. It's in a range of X, Y, Z. And then at that time, he actually guessed how much money I had to my name. He guessed it. He threw out a number. He was right. And that number wasn't in the positives either. It was actually in the negatives in terms of my net worth at the time. And that's when I really opened up my eyes and I realized, okay. And I started asking this question to clients as well over the journey going, what do you really have set aside right now and where is it sitting? And for a lot of people, they know roughly where things sit. They know roughly what they've got to their name. But until you actually take ownership of it and you check up on it every single day, it's something that takes a process of everything's digital now, right? So you can pretty much open up your phone and you can figure out where you are based on, whatever app you've got your banking on, or if you have a savings tracker app, you can figure it out.
Yep. But
one of the things that made a lot of sense for me was figuring out exactly how much I had at any given point in time every day.
Yep.
And what that did was that made me feel like, okay, are you going closer to a goal or are you going further away from a goal? So just tracking exactly where is our money was super important to me learning right at the beginning. So it's something that became a habit that every day when I wake up, I still naturally make sure that I know exactly how much I've got in there. And then another habit that I found myself having automatically formed was manually making. So this habit gets formed, I suppose, when you come from a bad place with money management and you want to get better. If you're already naturally good with money management, I suppose people don't bother. So, everyone's got a transaction card or everyone's got the account where you spend your cash from. Some people are okay leaving a few grand in there at a time and then spending as they go. If that was me, I don't think it'll travel along too well. So I'm one of those people that has to transfer your, good old $20 into that account before I spend the $20 because I want to see myself doing it. that method used to be translated into cash back in the day. So I'd go out and I'd withdraw, okay, $500 in cash, and this is all I'm going to spend for the next 2 weeks. So I could actually see what's going in and out. So small things like this over time have developed what I would call is my personal investment and managing of investments philosophy. So small thing that you don't have to do every single day is check your real estate investments every single day. They don't really work the same as stocks do, right, in the stock market. So one thing is habits, and then the other thing is what is your thought process behind the habits, or what is your thought process that's the overlying goal behind it. So one thing I always feel it always boils back down to this is our audience might be a bit bored of hearing this all the time, but it really does stem from your goals. What are your personal goals that you've set up? Yep. Whether it be a savings goal, whether it be a shares goal, whether it be a real estate goal, and what are you doing daily to track or make sure that you're on track over there? So that's the best way that I can describe managing investments from a high level. But what about yourself? I'm keen to hear what it looks like from your end.
Well, guys, I've got 15 spreadsheets, and no, I'm joking. But I do have a spreadsheet.
Only 13, though.
Look, you know what? You don't even need a spreadsheet in today's day and age. You did say it. You know, everything's on the phone, everything's on the app or an app, right? If you bank with CBA, like the majority of the country does, in some way, shape, or form, and even if it's not CBA, you know, let's just use the top 4 big banks. You know, their apps are continuing to you know, get better and better and better in regards to mapping out where your money is going. If you look at CBA, they give you can track your whole portfolio, right?
Yep.
By updating it quite regularly and having that linked up with, you know, other I don't know if you can link with other apps, but regardless, you can always manually update it quite frequently. It tracks all your cash and all that type of stuff, but it's also tracking your spending, what's going in, what's going out for the month. You obviously set up which accounts you want to start tracking. Now, this is obviously not a plug to CBA, but you know, the fact that
I wouldn't mind plugging CBA. I mean, we sort of own a little bit of it.
Yeah,
so
sponsor us here. But you know, the reality is we've got so much around us. I mean, Finder, you know, finder.com.
Absolutely.
They have the same type of setup as well, right? And you know, it's not like this is brand new or anything. And I think there's a lot of people, you know, that are not taking advantage of just simple little applications and what the power of them are, or what they are, and applying that to their daily, you know, spending habits. Because again, you know, how do you really know how much you're buying in lunch every day? Oh, I'm going to spend $20. Well, yeah, you're right. If I take out a $20 note from the ATM, which, you know, in 20 years' time might not even be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
All right, but taking a $20 note and saying that's what I'm putting for lunch, and whatever I buy has to be within that $20. Otherwise, I can't buy it. But with the use of our phones, making it even easier and easier and easier to spend money. All right.
Yeah.
The reality is, we are spending a lot more. The cost of living is going up.
Exactly.
And forget the last month or so. I'm talking over the last 5 years. All right. This is all going up. If we're not tracking these things, and we're going, oh, I want to buy this property. And when I'm 50, I talk to a lot of people, you know this, Sean, I talk to a lot of people that tell me, my investment plan is that I'm going to have a couple of properties. I'm going to live in my home, debt free, blah, 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 blah. And they say all these other things. And I'm like, that's great. And we want you to achieve everything. But how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
That's the first question I impose on these people. And they say, oh, I haven't really thought about that. And I'm like, well, you should, because you're either 40 years of age now, and it's not as though you've got no time on your side, but the reality is, if you're looking at using real estate or even stocks and shares as investments, they need time to grow.
They need time. And you know what? The question that I ask a lot of people that I sit across, we usually sit across people that are in the age ranges of 35 to 48 mainly, right? Yes. That's the biggest chunk of our clientele. And the question I ask them is, do you feel like you're late to the party in this discussion? Do you feel like you're early, or do you feel like you're on time? And you can sort of see where people's mindset is when they answer this question. Because a lot of people, what is the correct answer, first of all, regardless of what your life is or anything? The correct answer is, I'm late to this. If you're 35, you're late to this. If you're 30, you're late to it. If you're 25, you're late to it. If you're 21, you're late to it. You should be starting when you're 17 and a half or 18. The minute you're 14 and 9 months, you should have started. And any wise investor will tell you that when was the best time to start? When you could have.
Yep.
Right? But then you start seeing people's attitudes come out when they answer this question. You start seeing it subconsciously going, oh, in life, because I'm an immigrant, we did quite well back home. and then we had to start from scratch again. So because the first couple of years we're running around trying to figure out where we wanted to live, we're pretty much right on time. So it's a justification mentality.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a victim mentality. I'm saying it's a justification mentality. Oh, well, life wasn't really too fair to us, but I suppose starting now at 42, we're pretty much on time because life could not have been fairer to us back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, of course, a lot of us could have wished that we rewind the clock 10 years ago and gotten a free loan from our dads worth 10 mil to go and muck around, right? Not all of us had that luxury. So it's really interesting you mentioned time. I'll let you continue though.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just, again, understanding time is never on our side. It is the most valuable asset. And I truly do believe you never understand, this is from my perspective anyway, you never understand that until you get, firstly, a point in your life when it actually hits you, where the penny drops. And, for some people it might be a death in the family. For others it might be a birth in the family. For me, it was a birth in the family, right, when I had my son. And, that for me was a big eye-opener to say, it's not as though you have to do everything a million miles an hour, but it's just to say, wow, now I've got a measuring tool. And I actually want to do an article on LinkedIn about this. I've got this as a little note to do.
Great.
Using my son as a measuring tool, all right, which sounds bad, but, I'm not going to be holding him out as a stick and, using him to...
Are you talking about in terms of his lifetime life?
Lifetime, correct.
Like 0, this is what I was doing. 1,
Absolutely.
this is what I was doing. That's what I would naturally do anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what we do subconsciously without using... So you've got your son that you can use as a measuring stick now.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, we do it ourselves anyway.
But you know what? This is where maybe it's a flaw of mine, maybe it's not, but I feel like when we are on our own journey, and you've said it before, majority of people, if they don't achieve a goal today, they're going to push it out next week and the week after and the week after, and they'll just keep doing that, right? So it'll never be truly achieved. People do that with life achievements. Oh, we didn't buy a property, last year. We're just going to wait off now. Wait, I don't care. Do what you want to do because that's the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, don't think a market is going. And forget finance and real estate. Let's just talk in general.
Yep.
The world moves. When we die, people grieve for us that were close to us. And then after a year, life continues on for these people.
Absolutely right.
Even less than a year these days because it has to. You can't sit there and dwell on the past forever.
Even the five mates and the 5 mizzos that loved you the most will grieve you and miss you for a year. They ain't skipping meals for a year, son. No. They ain't skipping sleep for a year.
Yeah, this is not relationship advice.
It never is any form of advice ever. But it's real talk though.
It is. And again, having a measuring tool in place then starts making you realize, okay, I need to map out or at least measure, what I'm doing in different parts of my life. And I think you've mentioned it before, or I've mentioned it to you and we discussed it. Tony Robbins has that measuring tool. Is it the circle with the little, it's like a sun measuring tool. Do you know what I'm saying? Where you've got your personal life, your physical life.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you're measuring out to, let's say, to number 10.
Yep.
And then you can see on this circle
what needs to be filled and what doesn't, yep.
What's at number 10, what's at number 3, and you're looking, oh, I need to put a bit more time and effort into family time or this or that. And I think, life is all about reviewing, looking at the past, not dwelling on it, but looking back and saying, did I do better to, compared to 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 10 years ago as we get older as well. And natural evolution should play its toll. And we should be in a better position year on year on year. Yep. Might not mean that we've got, 1 million today and then 10 million next year. But even if we've got $1 more from a financial sense, we're doing better than the year before.
Yep.
That's the reality.
Yep.
So definitely. I know that we've got a subscription break coming up shortly, but I wanted to ask you another question as well. Understanding that, measurement of investments is, people are starting to understand the context now that it is important, but what's a 2 or 3 minute type of quick answer you could give me that would be, where do I start? Where would I start measuring?
You start by signing up in this link below here. Producer Ryan, throw that link up there. This virtual coffee will get you everything you need to understand about where to begin. But going back to your question for real now, in terms of is the question about where do you begin in terms of how do you start managing? Yeah. So what worked really well for me was actually a good old offline Excel spreadsheet. So I started with this and I used to color code everything. So I used to color code, for example, there was a small period in time where I used to do a bit of trading as well. The trading time of my life was so lame looking back that if I would have just bought those stupid stocks and held them till today, I would have actually had a fair bit of coin.
Yeah.
But of course, back then you're taught like, oh, you can be a millionaire just by trading. So you preserve your capital, you make you a couple hundred a day, and you keep doing this. And anyway, so I failed and made enough mistakes to realize that boring is best.
Yeah.
There were two movies I was forced to watch actually recently. Both those movies were, I don't know if you've seen this, but I quite like Ryan Reynolds, the persona. Yep. And I was enjoying watching this movie called The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yes.
And there is also part 2, which is The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
Yep.
And his whole motto in this is he's a bit butthurt because he's lost his AAA bodyguard rating. And obviously there's a flamboyant side of the film, which is your Samuel L. Jackson, who's more like, oh, when I get out there, I'll just kill everybody. Everybody's right? And Ryan Reynolds is more like, no, just keep it simple. Like the best way to get a job done is boring. Yes. Stick to the script. Make sure it's pre-planned. Boring is best. So what I realized was that in life, no one from day one who wants to start today is going to have that golden answer and follow it to a T. Because to be honest, I've already had the golden answer right back when I was at high school from my economics professor. So I was an amazing economics student, and he actually gave us the secret to life back then. He said, here's what you do. Every single dollar you earn from the first paycheck you ever earn, take 10% of it and set it aside. So you're going to be investing that. And everyone laughed about it in school. We're all like, 15-year-old junkies hanging off the rails and running amok. But if I look back now and I did that, and if you did that, if producer Ryan did that, going back to every single dollar we've ever earned till today, from the millions we've earned, imagine if we just set aside 10%. What would you have able to invest? We'd have deposits for maybe a few houses. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
And some simple piece of advice, and what I feel is when you're young, when you're naive, even if you get told good advice, healthy advice, it doesn't mean you're going to follow it to a T. You have to let what's called life experience sometimes hit you in the face. You sometimes have to let bad debt hit you in the face. For me, the only reason I actually decided to get clear-headed and super laser focused on my goals was when I realized that enough is enough. So I got myself into a bad situation. You naturally get yourselves into things like debt that you don't want to, that you didn't need to have. You start buying things on credit card. You understand the world of credit. And when I realized that enough was enough, that's when I set the clear plan. So my beginning was goal number 1, 0 debt. Goal number 2, surplus X amount in savings. Goal number 3 was what to do with that savings investment-wise. So I had everything really neatly labeled out in the Excel sheet, and I used to just keep tracking. And after a bit of daily tracking, monthly tracking, I realized that, you can actually hit certain goals as long as they're realistic. But for the first few years, the goals were so unrealistic that I'd have to do the whole set them, fail, set them, fail. But when you truly decide that you're sick of failing on the same goals, you'll create a strategy to be realistic and stop failing at them as well. But in terms of that starting line, even if anyone gives someone the golden strategy today, if we give all of our investment secrets away on this podcast today, someone's actually got to be in that position mentally where they're really ready to take that next step as well. Life tells you this as well, that when the student's really ready, the master will appear.
Yes.
Now, I know it seems like where's the link, but this is where I was in my life. So when I was really ready, everything fell into place. The budgeting system worked. My mentor came in, showed me a few tricks around the ropes. And I feel it's this magical force that happens when whatever you're really seeking equally seeks you back.
I agree. So, guys, we are going to jump to a subscription break.
Wow.
So we are right on time, and I am going to come back to Sean on that topic as well. But as Kesh, and in Kesh's memory right now, because he's not here today, if you have not subscribed, you are not allowed to watch after this part now. So I'm calling it, and if you don't like it, come and talk to me. You've got 15 minutes to do that. But we are going to give you a subscription break, and I think it's going to be here or here or here or here somewhere, but we'll speak soon. Welcome back from our subscription break. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not subscribe, as I did say, please get off this video. You're not allowed to be on here anymore. And I know producer Ryan won't be happy with me saying that, but you know what? I don't bloody care today.
Rules are rules.
It's my show with Sean. But yeah, look, I wanted to get back into the topic, guys, where we were. Sean was making some really, really good points there. And I think more importantly, as you said, long story short, everything falls into place. And you are right. You can't just decide I'm going to make a budget all of a sudden and I'm going to have a 20-page Excel spreadsheet that's going to show me what my life is going to look like. And the reality is you can project things as well, but you could be hit by a bus tomorrow and all of that goes down the drain.
You're so right. And you know what's funny? You ask a lot of families, right? You ask them this question going, do you have an active budget planner that you actually stick to month on month?
Yep.
And 98% of them, literally 98% of them go, nah. But here's an amazing question if you really want to understand people's psychology and the world that you're dealing with or the world that you're competing with, right? Ask those same people, have you ever in your life started a budget or a budget planner? Guess what they're going to say? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All the time. And you know what? Look, let's be realistic. Sticking to budget is hard, right? It's not as though all of a sudden, we're telling you, do a budget, stick to it and be an absolute Nazi on it. No, that's not the case at all. We go over our budgets. Of course, there are going to be, medical expenses that pop up from nowhere. There's going to be, car expenses, which I've dealt with over the last couple of weeks. Things like that you have no control over, and that's okay. We're not expecting you to have, a surplus funds of 100K to take care of these, potential problems that pop up. But just know that you can at least look back. That's why I'm saying as well with these apps, they make it so simple to look back on your previous month, categorize it and say, how much did I spend in travel this week or on fuel or on groceries? Did I need to go out for that $400 dinner? And again, the following week, could I have maybe reserved that and invited people over? At least you can start seeing and go, because I can tell you now from time to time, even recently, I'll go through my apps and I'll have a look and I'll be like, when did I spend that $250? Because I couldn't recognize the company that invoiced me or what do you call it, the credit card, all right? And it makes you go back to the month and think about it. It makes you go back to the month and think about it, right? So you go back and you look at it and you think, all right, well, now that makes sense. Yeah, maybe I won't do that this week. I won't do that this month, whatever it may be. And, it's interesting because, again, I say this to all of our clients, Sean, review part of our process for what we do with our clients is the most important part once the acquisition has been made. Once the first acquisition has been made, everything is reliant on the review of the property performance of the portfolio.
Yep.
Right? Because how are we supposed to determine which way we're going to be continuing to go if we don't know what the past 12 months, 24 months have done and so on, right? So
exactly. Like tracking data, where a lot of our clients get lost, or where I feel just human beings in general get lost is they get fascinated by this idea of learning the data or finding the data or finding interesting data.
Yes.
But what is data at the end of the day if it's just for data's sake? It's nothing. Unless it's formulated with, the knowledge points or unless it's formulated together to create an analysis of something where it'll inspire you to either take action or refrain from action. Only then you're making that knowledge powerful, right?
Yep.
So understanding like how much you can save in a month for a family is not so that you find that number, the 2,000, the 5,000, the 10,000. Understanding that number can automatically be input into a offset reduction calculator and can automatically tell you how fast you can be mortgage free on your home instead of on 30 years, having been mortgage free in 11 years or 12 years.
Yep.
That's what the power of data does. And then you in your mind go, wait a second, if I'm 40 years today and I'll be mortgage free by the time I'm 52, then I don't need to work full time and keep going along the corporate grind because I don't enjoy what I do, for example. Then you get some people that talk about planning in such a negative light, which is, yeah, but in 10 years from now, you never know. I might get sick, I might fall ill, and we might die and plans might change. Well, if I walk out the door today and I slip and I fall and I die, that can happen as well. There's an equal chance of almost anything. Life is just probabilities. But to base life on something like a negative probability happening, sometimes people just use it as a cop-out excuse to go, yeah, we like our numbers and everything, but nothing really goes according to plan. But that's why you try and guesstimate. That's why you try and estimate for the future, and you hope for the best at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
One thing you do as a human being have to realize is that you are going to give up control regardless, you're forced to give up control. Like no one could have planned the pandemic.
Yep.
What do? Do you either stay shocked, do nothing about it, or take an action that can try and benefit you? So it's always about trying to, I think, keep climbing beyond obstacles and everything, but having a clear plan or having a clear strategy or a philosophy based on your personal management style or managing your personal investments, I feel really sets you apart from everyone else who uses this cop-out mentality as a strategy. Like, for example, in your life as well, I think we'll get to your personal style as well, but do you have a style or a structure in place that you follow, that you check certain things once a month, or you check certain things once a day and then certain things once a year, for example? Like, how does it look like for you across your personal ballot of investments?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've been changing my ways where I was checking too frequently, even just things like income, what's it looking like, blah blah blah. When you you need to be updated, but no more than once a month on that. The reality is, if you've got a pretty standard paying job and it's not really commission focused or bonus focused, you know what you're going to be earning month in, month out. And if you're tracking that, it's still good, because you want to know what, everyone knows what their gross amount is. Everyone tells us what their gross amount of earnings is, but what are you really making at the end of the day? That's what really counts. And we always say that. It's not about going out and earning 50% more. It's about holding 25, 30%.
This is so true. This is what we were talking about last week, right? So leftover being more important than your turnover.
Exactly. 100%. And
which I learned from Tom Panos' podcast the other day, by the way. So I'm not going to steal any thunder.
Yeah.
I always give credit.
So, and then there's other things where, again, expenses, probably should look at them more frequently. I think a lot of people check the income as opposed to the the outgoings more frequently, when it should be the other way around, realistically. And you are right with property. There's absolutely no point in checking that any more than a quarter. I would say every quarter, because most of the time, there is some major type of bills that are coming out, council aid, strata, all that type of stuff. So it is good to know where you're kind of sitting from a net position. But when you get it set up, I think the hardest part is that it's always going to be evolving. People just think that you're going to have this spreadsheet set up, or whether it's a management of investments, and it's just going to be like that forever and ever. Even the apps are updating all the time, on what you're tracking and how you're tracking it. And, I wanted to bring this up. I think it was important because there are so many people out there that suffer from this. And we say it every single day to people: take action. Right? We can talk about setting spreadsheets. We can set them up for people. We can give them to you in all your Excel formats. We can put your photo of your head in there and make it look all pretty, whatever you want to do. But the reality is, and I have done this, and I speak from experience, where I have given my own personal little, sheet to a friend who was in need, and I said, do you track your stuff? And they said, no, I don't. I said, well, I've got a pretty simple spreadsheet that I created from scratch, and I'm no mathematician or anything like that. I said, I just, at the right time, knew it was supposed to happen, sent it to them. And only just last week, I asked them, I said, oh, how'd you go? Oh, yeah, no, I haven't done it. Why have you not done anything on it? I'm actually scared to look at what the expenses look like. And I said, and that's going to be a big problem. Not just now, forget now, but think of 20 years down the track. Because that habit that you have now, that's not going to change.
Yeah, I know the time where people are really afraid to do budgeting is the night after a big night out.
Yeah.
Big night out, you look back and you're like, I don't even want to look, because seeing how much I spent will hurt me. Sometimes you need that reality knock on your door.
Yes, you do. You do. And again, taking the action is just saying, right, I'm going to stop myself. Forget the spreadsheet. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, go through your app, and just look at your last 1 month of expenses, because I can guarantee it doesn't vary from month to month.
Not too much, yeah.
Not too much, right? You get an odd expense here and there, great, whatever. It's a general expense. But everything else, you're going to know, I believe you should know how much you're spending on Netflix, Spotify, Stan, this, that, blah, 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 all these little subscriptions. Because again, people don't realize even that can total $100, $200, $300 a month without even realizing.
The subscription thing really caught me by surprise over the holiday period. So during that little Christmas break that just went past, I decided that, okay, for the first time, I've got like a week where I can watch something freely on every platform. So knowing me, I signed up to everything, every free trial under the sun. And I put it in my calendar when to cancel the subscriptions. But I just tallied it up and I realized I was sitting on $225 worth of subscriptions a month.
Wow.
Now, for families that are in that comfortable income level, it doesn't affect them too much. For families that are below the radar, that's a big red flag. Families can't even save, $5,000 a year. And how much is 220 a month? That's 200 by what's that? That's more than
2,400 a year.
2,400 a year, right? Families can't even save like $5,000 a year. So just by tallying up, and that's just me. Imagine if I threw in like a couple of kids' little subscriptions as well. Imagine if I threw in a subscription for the oldies as well. And if you're living in this household, they can really creep up on you.
Absolutely.
And obviously I didn't keep all of them. I cancelled all of them when it was time for the due date. But a lot of people just forget. And one thing that I've noticed that really got me for a really long time was there was one subscription that I was too lazy to cancel. And every time I got reminded to do it, I just noticed that, the debit got taken out. I would go, oh, great, I got a free month anyway. Keep going. And I was like, I have to cancel it. But unless you actually make it an attempt to know where all this money's going and cancel it, a lot of people don't even use it. So I've been donating my gym membership to the gym for the last 2, 3, 4 years just for free because I still always want to go, right? So we play these games on ourselves all the time saying, I'll do this, I'll do that. But you're right. I think tracking it gives you that clarity of knowing what you should be cutting it out, pretty much what you should cut out, what you shouldn't as well. Something really interesting I wanted to ask you, because we're on the topic of managing your investments. When do you, this is maybe a multi-parter, right? When do you feel it's the right time to jump on the new investment trend or the new hot stock or the new hot coin or the new next thing or the new next NFT? When do you feel is A, the right time to do it? Or B, do you try and stay away from that style of investment? I'd love to hear your personal philosophy on this, off the record, obviously, because this is not advice on anything.
That's a great question. And from time to time, I have been known to myself to do a lot of research in a short amount of time on something that's trending. Okay, what's this? And if we can use NFTs as an example, I think it's a great example right now, where the market was hot only about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and people are going crazy. You've got these YouTube celebrities just telling everyone how they're like, I just bought something for $100,000 and someone's offered me $1 million for it, and they're just going, this is stupid. Even they're saying it, and these people are not super educated people, and neither am I, by the way. But still, regardless, you know what's right and what's wrong. I think to answer this question though, I believe it's when the media hype starts to die down. So if you look at Bitcoin as an example, we know that Bitcoin back in 2018 rose to, I think it was 40K or thereabouts, around that period. 40,000 AUD per coin.
In 18?
2018, yeah. It reached that peak, yeah.
I thought it was December 17 where it did the whole all the way up to 26K AUD, and then 18 was just crap the whole time.
Oh, whatever year it was, we can get a YouTube link somewhere, or Google link
no,
and have a look. But
we have a chart. You can look at the timing.
We can have a look, but I do know at one point within that period, it was at about 40,000 AUD for a coin. And again, last year in 21, we hit 96 or whatever it was, and it's obviously dropped down significantly, back down towards 50, 60. I don't know, it could even be less.
Yep. Is your timeline chart. So you can tell the audience what to expect.
At the moment, but back in... when was it? When did we hit 40,000? That's AUD, yeah.
Oh yeah, Australian dollars.
Well, back in 17 November it was 10,200. So I could be off with my numbers there, but I do know that it had two big waves.
Yeah,
right? We've seen two big waves, and looking back at that, you notice that it's going to happen again. Right? You will get a wave of investment. Do you buy when everyone's jumping in? No, you don't. But do you buy when it's, I'm waiting for the bottom of the market? If you've noticed it's dropped a fair amount, I'd say 20, 30%, but you also understand what the future holds for that investment. So again, using Bitcoin and using NFTs, understanding that it's not, you're not buying an artwork for $1 million, a JPEG that anyone can just fraudulently screenshot, right? We're not buying that. We're buying the technology that comes with that asset. The same way when we buy a house, well, really, we're not buying a house for its technological advances that it may have. Yes, some houses
Unless
are
it's
better.
one of those Kesh's like dream designed houses.
Yeah.
Like, what's the word for it? Functionality, supreme functionality or something.
Correct. But you know what? People will pay the premium for that, and so they should, right? But you're not going to then, decide to wait for that bottom period of the market. For a piece of real estate, well, let's look back at the last 40 years, and it has been that upward slope the whole time. Using new trends and again, going back to the NFT thing, I think, now would be a good time for someone to be invested into that. That's how I see it from a personal strategy side of things, where I believe the media hype has dropped off a bit. You've understood it a little bit longer. You've watched how the markets perform, even though it's still a young market. Get in when it's maybe just come off the bottom a little bit. That's, again, what I believe. I'd rather pay a little bit more knowing that there's a bit of foundation or sustainability coming back.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's really good.
What about you? See,
for me, just from so many conversations, so much experience going into, I've tried it as well in the past. So I've tried the whole buying into the hype investing and what's the next trend. And the only thing I've realized that over time, after I personally cracked this code, according to me, it served me super well, which is I don't want to invest into something which people are investing in or groups are investing in order to intentionally make money quickly with as least force possible, or with as least amount of input possible. So the only thing that gets me about the whole crypto investing or the NFT investing is that people are excited about the opportunity where they want to intentionally make money out of nothing, or they want to make money from the currency value increasing and skyrocketing, or an altcoin going up by 10,000%. And then I take a serious look at the street and I go, how many people are really getting rich off this stuff? And I realize that it's not a massive percentage. The psychology of the game vets out a lot of the losers anyway. For example, it makes the headlines, it's doing really well. And then what do natural sheep buyers do? Fear of missing out. They go, great, I'll quickly put a $5,000 in there. And then very soon we know what happens next month. It just sort of tumbles back down. They go, they lost. So there's almost always more losers than winners.
Yep.
But the only thing that gets me about it personally is I've decided to stop trying to entertain the idea of things that are making money quick for making money's sake without any active input. So a lot of people get caught into things like pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing. And I've seen this firsthand myself about how people justify it to themselves, but then you see the same people after 5 years and they're doing the same scheme but in a different product. Did you get what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like there's always this one guy at the party that you want to sort of distance yourself from, because he's going to get everyone into that side room and go, hey guys, here's the presentation, there's a new business. This one's going to really hit the jackpot.
These are the guys back about almost 10 years ago that was selling
energy,
super green,
ACN.
Super green like powder. The super greens?
No, not super greens. Were they from, what's that big company?
There was one that was called
Herbalife?
Yeah, there was another one.
Or as Jim Rohn would say, Herbalife.
There was another one here in Sydney. It was called Your Health or something like that.
There's a few that have been around. Yeah. There's energy drink companies.
Pyramid schemes.
Yeah, the biggest one back in the day was the containers. Like they'd sell you containers so that you can sell containers, but you recruit a distributor and it's better, right?
Yeah. So, guys, I guess we're going to wrap it up today. We're going to do a nice, quick, short one. But before we do, we always have a tradition. And I'm going to add a new tradition tonight.
Very exciting.
So
I like
We're
this.
going to be doing our round robin. But I'm going to do another one. And producer Ryan, you're going to let Kesh know as well that we have a new boss in the building tonight.
New tradition.
We are implementing a new tradition. So we're going to do our round robin, as we do. But before we do our round robin, we're going to do elevator answers.
Wow.
So we know all about the elevator pitch in the world of sales, and that is selling your... Producer Ryan, I think we got some beeping. So
that sounded like an alternative Rick Ross universe there.
I do like that.
Well, we've got time though.
Yeah, we do. So an elevator pitch is about knowing or imagining you're in an elevator with a CEO or a big boss of some form of company, and they go, so what do you do with yourself? And they're going to level 23, and you have no more than 15 to 20 seconds to explain what it is you do and how you do it. So what we're going to do is a different version of it, and we're going to make it 3 answers within a 30-second pitch.
Sure.
All right. And I'm going to ask you right now, you've got 3 major investments, because we're on the topic of management of investments. You've got 3 major investments to park your money into. It could be anything in the whole entire world. And it doesn't just come down to real estate and stocks, for example. But what would be your 3, I guess, best long-term, short-term, mid-term, all-round term investments be?
Sure. So if I only had 3 to pick from in the whole universe, I'd go with real estate number 1. So residential real estate first. Second, I'd go with stock fundamentals, stocks that have healthy fundamentals, stocks that don't have too much of an overinflated PE ratio, and stocks that have supported the test of time over a period longer than 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
So we go real estate first, residential.
Yep.
And when looking at residential, obviously capital city residential freestanding cottage. That's what I'm talking about. That stock. And then the third would actually be collectible Porsches or collectible Lamborghinis. That's me.
Nice.
Those are my 3 in the elevator within 30 seconds.
That's really good, actually. I think my ones would be, mine are a lot more rounded, so it's very broad, but I was going to say real estate. Well, I was actually going to put it in a different order. I was going to say business, real estate, and shares.
Nice.
And the reason being is because Kesh always says it all the time, businesses buy real
houses.
estate, not the other way around.
Spot on.
And I think we could probably say that business would most certainly have the highest ROI when it comes to a cash investment and what you're getting back on that cash return. But the leverage component with the other 2 is also probably fairly stronger, I'd say. Most certainly
Absolutely.
with real estate. But yeah, I want to implement that every week.
Let's do it. I love it. And speaking of elevator pitch, because you brought it up, this is very, very awesome. I've trained my whole life for my answer. But let's assume, 2 hot shots in the elevator. Someone's asking you the question. I'm going to put you on the spot. Mark, what do you do?
Oh, great question. So I work for an investment firm and we focus on real estate. And if you want to invest and make $1 million, you come and see me.
That's nice. That's good.
So round robin.
That was the round robin, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can ask me my one.
I was going to say, yeah, we're going to go to next week's episode.
Keep it traditional, I suppose. Yeah, we'll just go to next week.
What is your elevator pitch?
No, so you just got to ask me, what do I do?
What do you do?
I do whatever it takes.
Oh, balls.
And I've actually started telling this to people as well. I've had an annoying, I don't know if I told you this recently, but I've had an annoying dude who was in my circle that I used to grow up around.
Yeah.
And recently he's been seeing us, get onto a few things. I was really close to his brother, so he's seen me, what I've been up to and everything. So he started asking me, going like, so what do you actually do? And my response to him was the same. I said, whatever it takes. He goes, no, but be real. Like, what do you really do? I said, I'm being serious. It is whatever it takes. That's what I do. That's what we all do. So that's why we're here.
Life.
And ready for you to take it away, baby.
All righty, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Again, it's been a duet and not a menage a trois. But we will be back with Kesh next week and ripping in as per usual. So let me give you a bit of an outro, guys.
Let's do it.